Let's talk about something that gets right to the very core of who you think you are. It's one of the oldest and, honestly, one of the most unsettling questions we can ever ask ourselves.
I mean, think about it. Every single day you feel like you're in the driver's seat, right? You feel like you're the one calling the shots, the author of your own story. It's the most basic, fundamental part of being human.
But this is where things get really weird. Modern science is now looking inside the brain and finding some pretty compelling evidence that totally challenges that feeling. It suggests that the sensation of making a choice, well, it might just be the last thing to happen, like a news report on a decision your brain has already made.
And that leads to a huge, kind of scary question. If our brains are pulling the strings before we're even aware of it, then who is this I that we think is in charge? What are we really taking credit for when we say, I chose to do that?
Okay, to really get a grip on this, we need to look at the powerful arguments against free will, coming from both modern science and some really old philosophy.
For centuries, deep thinkers have been saying we aren't really free. Some talk about causal determinism, this idea that everything is just one long, unbreakable chain of cause and effect. Others have made religious arguments like, if there's a God who knows everything, then the future is already written, right? And then you've got psychological determinism, our genes, our upbringing, all these things that shape us. And they all kind of point to the same conclusion. Our choices are not nearly as free as they feel.
But you see, those were always abstract debates, just philosophical ideas. What's so wild is that now neuroscientists have taken this question out of the textbook and into the lab. And what they found is, well, it's pretty disturbing.
So here's how the classic experiment goes. You hook someone up to a brain scanner and you tell them, just press this button whenever you feel like it. Their only other job is to remember the exact moment they decided to press it. And the results are just mind-blowing. The brain shows clear signals that a decision has been made, sometimes a full second or two before the person is even consciously aware of choosing anything. Just let that sink in for a second. Your brain fires up, the decision is already underway, and then, almost like an afterthought, your conscious mind gets the memo and goes, oh yeah, I did that. It really suggests our feeling of choice is more like an echo, a story we tell ourselves after the fact. And what's so fascinating is how this super modern science sounds a lot like some ancient wisdom. Thousands of years ago, the Bhagavad Gita said something pretty similar. It says that Prakriti, which is basically nature or the material world, is what's doing everything. It's only our deluded ego, the jiva, that mistakenly stands up and says, hey, I'm the one doing it.
Okay, so the case against free will is strong, I get it. But this leads us to a huge, glaring paradox that every single one of us lives with every day.
Just look at this. Even the most hardcore determinists, people who are absolutely convinced free will is a total fiction, they don't live like it. They praise their kids for trying hard in school. They get furious at the guy who cuts them off in traffic. They expect people at work to be held accountable. Their everyday actions completely contradict their philosophy.
Let's make this super personal. Imagine your friend who goes on and on about how there's no free will is holding a hot cup of coffee right over your brand new laptop. And they say, hey, I can't be blamed for what happens next. My actions are predetermined. Are you just going to sit there and let it happen? No way. You're going to yell, stop. In that moment, both of you are acting as if choice is very, very real.
So here's the real puzzle. We've got this theory that seems pretty solid from a scientific point of view, but it's completely impossible to actually live by. Our entire society, our laws, our relationships, they're all built on the assumption that we have free will. So what's going on? What piece are we missing here?
This is where we can turn to a totally different perspective from the Indian philosophy of Vedanta. And it doesn't try to argue with the science. Instead, it suggests we might be starting our search in the completely wrong place.
So instead of digging around in the brain looking for the chooser among all the firing neurons, Vedanta starts with the one thing we actually know for certain, the fact that we are aware. The whole question shifts from the mechanics of making a choice to the nature of the consciousness that's experiencing it all.
Now, from this point of view, what we call free will is pretty limited. It's basically just the ability to pick between option A and option B. But where did those options even come from? And here Vedanta actually agrees with the neuroscientists. It says those thoughts, those impulses, those desires, they're all conditioned. They're products of our past.
But then, Vedanta introduces a much, much deeper idea, freedom or moksha. And this isn't about getting better at choosing. It's about a total shift in who you think you are. It's the big realization that your true self isn't the mind that's wrestling with a choice. You are the silent, unchanging awareness that is simply witnessing the whole show.
This idea was put perfectly by Swami Vivekananda. He said that real freedom isn't just doing whatever you feel like doing. No, real freedom is knowing why you want the things you want in the first place. It's about self-knowledge.
So how in the world do we put all this together? How can science and this deep philosophy both be right? Well, the answer might be to see them not as one truth fighting another, but as different levels of the same truth.
So look at it like this. On one level, the physical level of the brain and the body, science is totally right. Our actions are part of a massive chain of cause and effect. Then on another level, the social, everyday level, we have to act as if we're free. It's the only way morality, law, and society can function. But then there's the deepest level. And on that level, true freedom isn't about making a different choice. It's about seeing, with total clarity, that you are not the one doing the choosing. You are the witness. This flips the whole script. We're so obsessed with being in control, with being the doer. But maybe, just maybe, the most radical kind of freedom isn't about grabbing the steering wheel tighter. Maybe it's about understanding the nature of the car and realizing you were never just the driver to begin with.
And that leaves us with one final question to sit with. If that person you call me, the ego, the personality, was never really the one in control, then who or what is this awareness that's here, listening to all of this right now?